Well, welcome back, everyone. It's great to see everyone here for another Workplace Wellness Hour in the first week of February 2025. And I cannot believe it's February already, Ashley and Sumana. It's like, did January just like blink by, or did we just intentionally forget about it? I don't know. But we're excited to have you all here. The topic today is definitely one that is near and dear to our hearts, and I think very relevant to what's going on around us today about workplace resilience and how to thrive among uncertainty. Because whether the uncertainty is you want to change your job because you're not happy in your current job, maybe outside factors have changed factors where your job gotten eliminated, furloughed, laid off. Maybe there's other opportunities that you want to pursue and you're not really sure how to do it. Obviously, a lot of stuff can cause problems in the workplace, but as leaders, we have a chance to help guide the teams through these times of uncertainty. And I think that when we have these times of uncertainty, it is key to remember these important points that we want to share with you today. But before we dive into that, I want to give a chance to introduce everybody, but remind everyone who's watching us, do me a favor. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from and what city, state, country. Let us know also if you're team live or team replay. Go ahead and put in the comments. We want to hear you in the chat. I see that Meryl's already there. Lisa, great to see you. Dr. Tanya, thank you for joining us. Leslie Flowers, Melissa Houston, my sister, not actual blood sister, y'all, just in case. And then Dr. Marcia, and then Brian, and then Jordan. So thank you all for joining us so early. It's great to see you all. And Christy, I'm sorry. So please, before we dive into the topic, ladies, introduce yourselves. Ashley, let's start with you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Ashley Fluellen. I'm an artist and workshop facilitator, and I help other creatives resist perfectionism by tapping into their creativity. I'm really excited for this topic tonight. I've kind of been excited to talk to you two about it because there is so much uncertainty right now, and I know I'm going to learn a lot on this call. So I'm very excited for this conversation. And I'll pass over to Sumana to introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I am Sumana Jeddy, coming to you from very, very cold Calgary, Alberta, where it's minus 24 degrees. I think it's supposed to go down to minus 31 today. So it's our annual deep freeze. I'm not complaining because it's been such a warmish winter. Anyways, I'm the founder and president of Jeddy Wellness. We design science-based strategic wellness solutions, and we work particularly with medium and small-sized businesses. And we offer tailored workshops, and everything that we offer is science-based and customized to the client. So I'm happy to be here and happy to talk about this really interesting topic that Felipe suggested. Lots of uncertainty. There's a lot going on in the world right now as well, but particularly in the job sector, lots of people losing jobs, lots of people shifting their roles, lots of people getting laid off. So yeah, let's talk about that. I'll pass it back over to Felipe.
Well, thank you, Sumana. Let me just get back here. And one second. All right. So this topic is definitely very relevant. For those of you who are new to the Workplace Wellness Hour, we're here every other Monday. So make sure that you mark your calendars because we are always tackling great topics. And if you have any that you want to share and have us cover, just send us a DM. As always, give us a follow on LinkedIn. That's where you can always find us. But we are broadcasting here on LinkedIn Live as well as on YouTube. If you want to follow me on YouTube, here's my YouTube channel. I do have a Workplace Wellness Hour playlist, so that should take you to that. I also have one for my other shows I do with Melissa Houston, Careers, Chaos, and Coaching, and my Social Saturday chat group as well. So it's a great place to kind of capture some of the stuff that we've done, but also want to remind people, if you didn't see it earlier, check out Jeddy Wellness website. There's a QR code for that. All the stuff that Sumana talked about, all the work she does, it really does. You can see all the great work she does there on that website, and you can learn more about how she can help you if you need some help. And then, of course, I'd be remiss if I did not share the creativity, the talent, the artistry of Ashley Fluellen on Instagram. If you're not following Ashley on Instagram, do me a favor, check her out, follow her. Her artwork is amazing. Whether you want to purchase it, have in your house, or just look at it, it's beautiful. But check her out, follow her, support all the great work she's doing, because it definitely is impressive. And I'm somebody who loves to sketch and draw, and so I appreciate good artwork. And it's something that, for those who can't do, support those that can. And outside of that, let's get started with the show. I do want to go back to the chat. I just want to highlight a few people also that joined us here. Noreen, thank you for joining us. Luong, thank you for joining us as well. And then we have, and Meryl, of course, all your support. So it is definitely bitter cold in Canada. So the cold weather right now, I think, here on the East Coast, we got like a 40s degree temporary, but it's going back in the 30s. But look, let's dive into this topic here because I think it's important. I'm going to put the link to join us on stage in a little bit. So feel free to join us on stage and share your thoughts or put your questions in the chat. Now, like I said before, if you let us know if you're team live or team replay, also let us know where you're watching from, if you're watching it from a certain city or state or country. So, but also make sure that you ask questions, whether you want to come up on live or in the chat, so that we can address them and we can go from there. So with that, let's talk about this topic here, because obviously, like I said, there's a lot of factors that can cause uncertainty in the workplace. And one of the things that, as I always share, I try to think of some top priorities that leaders should be thinking about when it comes to uncertainty in the workplace. So I'm going to share Felipe's 5. So I'm doing something a little bit different this time. I've been asked before, can you put it in the comments? Can you send it to me in the DMs? And because we talk about it. So I'm going to give you all visual. And now that this is recorded, it'll be easier to go back to as well. So with Felipe's 5, let me see if I can do this with this wonderful mouse that I have here, instead of putting my finger in front of the camera. All right. So with Felipe's 5, here are Felipe's 5 that I'll be covering. Okay. And so we have, we have communication with transparency, creating psychological safety, leading with flexibility, reinforcing purpose and stability, and practicing leadership self-care. Now, that is something that I want, I just lost you all. With those 5, I want you all to think about questions to ask yourself. So with the first one, we have communication with transparency. As a leader, or if you're someone in the workplace that has influence, how do you balance honesty with uncertainty? Because honestly, it's tough. As a parent, I know that I have always had a challenge balancing, honesty with uncertainty with my kids. How much do I share with them without scaring them or worrying them unnecessarily? There's no one right answer, but transparency doesn't mean that you have to have all the answers. It means that you have to be open about what you do know and what you don't know, and what steps you're taking to find out. So when you can acknowledge that there is uncertainty and reinforce that you're looking into things that and be honest about what remains unchanged, that creates some trust. And using that clear, consistent messaging can prevent misinformation that's being shared, but it also builds that trust. So that's number 1. Number 2 is creating psychological safety. Now, we talk about this all the time. What makes employees feel secure during change? Each of you may have some answers as to what you've seen in your workplace or what you've dealt with in your life. But employees feel secure when they know their voice matters and that leadership is genuinely listening. If an employee is trying to ask a question because they're concerned or they're afraid and they're not being heard, that is going to fuel their anxiety. That's going to hurt their psychological safety. So it's important to make sure that we look at those opportunities and not punish people for asking questions, but reinforce, encourage them, and provide regular updates. If I have learned anything, communication is key. Communication is something that people thrive on. And when they are lacking communication, they usually fill it in with worst case scenarios. Somebody put in the chat about, I think Leslie Flowers mentioned diplomacy, going back to how do you balance honesty with uncertainty? It is diplomacy. It's making a judgment call. It's making sure that you share what they need to know with what is going to upset them, and what you can spare and wait and hold off until you know more. Sometimes when you only have half the information, is it worth sharing half the information? So yes, diplomacy is a big part. That was going back to point number one. So point number one, communicate with transparency. Point number two, creating psychological safety. Point number three here, leading with flexibility. Okay, how do you stay adaptable while keeping teams aligned? Okay, and that's something that sometimes people feel like, oh, I need to have a strict hand, I need to take control, command. Yeah, leadership, yes, you need to take command, you need to be a leader, but you gotta know when to be flexible. It's not just about adjusting to change without losing sight about the objective, but it's about involving your team in the problem solving and getting them to be a part of it and remain open to different ideas. Because again, one person is not always going to have the right ideas. So if you think that you have all the right ideas, you're going to hit a brick wall one day and you're going to regret that you didn't seek out the guidance from your team. But besides that, it builds trust with your team. It helps create camaraderie and it increases your chances of success. So with clear principles while allowing room for adjustments, you can really give people that flexibility and just check in on them. See how they're doing. Ask them if they need any help, if they need to recalibrate some of their goals or targets, and keep everyone moving in the same direction. But again, if you're not flexible, people are going to veer off or leave you. All right. Number four is reinforcing purpose and stability. All right. What anchors your team when everything feels uncertain? Again, for different industries, it might be different things, but one thing that purpose is a unique anchor, because when uncertainty comes up, reconnect with your team to the bigger mission can really make a huge difference. Reminding them why their work matters and how it contributes to the long-term goals. Talk about some of the past successes and build their confidence that they have the skills to help navigate through this next challenges that we're dealing with. Reinforce that you're doing everything possible to make sure that we remain as stable through this challenge that we're going through. There's no guarantees, but they need to know, especially from leadership or even their coworkers sometimes, that, hey, we've got skills. We've been through tough times before. We can do this. And this is why it's important that we keep focused and remind people of the mission of what you're trying to accomplish. So that's a really important one that I want to encourage people to think about, because it really is sometimes what you say and what you don't say can really leave them hanging. All right, number 5, practice leadership and self-care. I cannot stress enough how important this is. This is the equivalent of putting the mask on yourself before your child in the airplane. But the question here is, how do leaders manage their own resilience through tough times? Everyone's different. Everyone wants to be the hero. Everyone wants to be, no, I got this. I did it. I didn't need any help. Stop looking at help as a negative, as something as a weakness. It's a sign of intelligence. And when you know that, hey, I'm going to take the afternoon off because I've just had a insane week and I just need to just rest and recharge a little bit. That's okay. Now, if you're trying to rest and recharge every afternoon, that might be a problem. But as a leader, you got to know when your body says, hey, I need a break, or even more importantly, your mind does. But resilient leaders, they prioritize self-care by setting boundaries, getting support or help when they need it, recognizing when they need to ask for help and maybe step back a little bit to recharge. So practicing things like mindfulness, delegation, breathing, and having a strong support network, these are things that are going to help a leader take care of themselves and be there for others. And it's not selfish. It's necessary if you're going to be a leader. All right, so I went on for quite a while there, you all. I know that was a lot of information there. I want to go to Ashley and Sumana now, because I know that they have great insights. As I say, Ashley brings a wonderful, refreshing, creative perspective. Sumana brings that scientific and data approach. So I always welcome that. Ashley, let's go to you first, please. What are your thoughts on this topic? I don't know if you have Fluellen's 4, if you just have some insights you want to share. The mic is yours.
Yeah. Okay. So This topic, where do I start? I want to just start by kind of talking about the fact that my business and me working for myself was born from a period of deep uncertainty. I quit my job. I decided I didn't want to work for anybody for a while. And then I got to work building my own arts focused business. And in doing that, I don't know if it was like an antidote to help me with it, or if I just realized that other people were struggling with uncertainty and leaning into perfectionism. But I knew that I needed some sort of guiding principle to help me be able to impart this message. So tonight, I want to share the 4 creative foundations that I use in my own creative practice and that I help others to embody in their creative practice when I'm coaching. So the first is reclamation, and that is all about reclaiming your values, understanding your mission, understanding your purpose, and moving in an empowered place with that. Sometimes it can be difficult to know what our role might be or to show up in an empowered state when we are uncertain, when we don't know what exactly is going to happen. But really standing firm in whatever your values are and whatever your mission is or whatever your purpose is will help you with that. So my first foundation is reclamation. Second is collaboration. Ask others for help, lean on other people. Now is a time, especially in uncertainty, to cultivate a community. And in our workplaces, community is built in many ways. In other ways, it can feel really isolating. So if you have that work bestie, maybe it's a mentor that's outside of your workplace, whoever it is, build a really caring community for yourself right now. The third foundation is abstraction, and this is my favorite. In art, my art teacher, when I was in school, gave us this advice, and it was, whenever you create a really beautiful piece, destroy it. And I have found that to be incredibly helpful when navigating uncertainty in my business, when working with others, allowing for the destruction to happen. However that might look for you, allow for destruction, allow for abstraction. In workplaces and teams, this could mean bringing in diverse perspectives. This could mean not judging immediately when you're in a place of ideation. But ultimately, the goal is to change and to innovate. And so with change and with innovation, you're going to have to do a little bit of abstracting the idea that you have before you. And then the last, which is my favorite, it's incubation. And this is making space for active rest in your creative practice, in your work, however that looks for you. In the past, we've talked about the 7 types of rest. And please look those up because it's really, really helpful when figuring out how exactly to rest outside of just, laying on your phone or watching TV. There are so many different ways to rest, and it's important to work in little micro rest spaces, micro play spaces into our work days, just to keep us from going insane. So the foundations: reclamation, collaboration, abstraction, and incubation. All of these are meant to help you resist perfectionism, to help you navigate uncertainty, and generally just to help the individual be a little bit more creative. So those are my 4. And I am going to pass to Sumana for her scientific approach.
Thank you so much, Ashley. I love listening to you. When Felipe was talking and when you were talking, it got me thinking. When Felipe asked, sometimes it's okay to say you don't got this, and I'll be the first to say here, very vulnerably, that I don't got this. It's been a very difficult several months, lots of uncertainty, lots of change. Personally, in my workplace, because I own my company, so it's my workplace. But I've also experienced change and uncertainty with employers. The biggest one being COVID, when with the Ministry of Health. So my perspective is not new. It's a concept that I've talked about earlier in the show, probably a few months ago. I can't remember when, but it's the idea of meaningful connections and having leaders develop that and cultivate that with their teams when they're navigating stress and uncertainty. And we had posted a blog on jeddywellness.com, and the title of the blog was, the power of connection in the workplace. How do you manage your stress by bringing in others? And the framework that I had presented in that blog is a scientific framework, which I think is very relevant. And I find that very powerful when I'm going through change and chaos, oh, good Lord, on a daily basis, especially if you're a business owner or working in industries where there's lots of chaos and uncertainty almost on a daily basis. So the framework is FIT, F-I-T-T, and it stands for frequency, intensity, time, and type. So Felipe's 5, I love those, and they really talk about the actions and behaviors that leaders need to take. And my framework here is more about just focusing on building those meaningful connections and giving leaders during that uncertain time like a checklist. What can I do? And like I said in the beginning of this conversation, I don't got this. So when my brain is foggy, I need something to help guide my decision making. And if I'm a leader leading a team, something like a FIT framework or a checklist can really help leaders guide their team and be the best versions of themselves. So frequency is, as simple as what it is. It's just your regular check-ins, your meetings, team building activities, and things that you can do to keep everybody connected. Intensity, I think, is a really good one. We want to make sure that as a leader, we say, oh, we have this open door policy, but what does that mean? What does an open door policy mean to you and your team, especially if you have a hybrid team, and especially if there's a lot of people in the team that are getting let go or quitting, and your team members are noticing that and they're afraid to come to you for that open door policy because it hasn't been established what it is. So really explain what that is and make sure that definition matches the environment that your workplace is going through. Time, I think, is really important. It's really important for leaders, especially during times of chaos and uncertainty, when people are being let go or if there's just massive changes in leadership, to allocate that personal check-in. I want to know, how is Ashley doing today? I may have seen some behavior changes. I may have seen that maybe she's coming in late to work, or maybe she's, dropping her projects a little bit late. And this is not normal, Ashley. This is not normal, Felipe, for example. So what does that look like? I want to have that personal check-in and make sure that no one is left behind. So I think that's really important. And type. And type is the last T. And this is one of my favorite ones because this is all about the bespoke strategy that I talk about at Jeddy Wellness, is tailoring your engagement during times of chaos and uncertainty with your team members so that you are prioritizing those initiatives with them. So on my blog, if you are interested, there is, and this is from a couple months ago, like I said, I'll post that in the comments in a little bit here. There is this checklist that I've given. It is downloadable. It's a PDF. There's one for leaders, there's one for employees. And under each category of frequency, intensity, time, and type, I've actually given you, and we've created this framework and given you exactly what you need to do, as a leader. What do I need to do daily, weekly, monthly? What do I need to do to ensure there's meaningful interactions? What do I need to do to create that positive reinforcement, that mentorship that Ashley was speaking about? What do I need to do to facilitate group collaboration? Again, keeping in mind that hybrid teams require a very dynamic approach because you lose folks. I mean, even right now we're doing LinkedIn audio. I'm staying true to the LinkedIn audio feel and keeping the camera off, but there's a lot of meetings that I attend all day long where we want people to keep our cameras on, but most people don't. So I have no idea if there's true engagement that is occurring during these team collaborations and these group collaborations. So I'll stop there. Feel free to go and download that checklist from the blog. It is, it's there for everybody. And if I can, I will try to post it in the chat here, but I don't know if it will allow me to post a graphic. So I'll stop there and I'll pass it back to Felipe.
Well, thank you, Sumana. So a few things. One, I hope you all took some great notes, but guess what? If you didn't, you can watch the replay. So as a quick reminder, if you have not told us yet, let us know if you are team live or team replay. And as always, let us know where you are watching from. We want to make sure that we capture that. And also, honestly, by putting stuff in the chat, it lets us know you're here. LinkedIn Audio, one of the great things that that feature had was that we could see everyone in the room. Here, we don't know if you're in the room or not unless you share something in the chat. So that's another incentive. But also put your questions in there, or I put the link in there as to how to join us on stage. So if you want to join us on stage, please go ahead and put that, click on that link, and you can join Restream. Just make sure you allow your video and mic so that you can speak and turn on your camera if you wish. You don't have to turn on your camera if you don't want to. So, so real quick, I want to go back because everyone shared so many wonderful insights, and it's, I think, one of those things where everyone's situation of how they're dealing with resilience is probably so unique, because it might be internal within your house, it might be external with outside factors in the environment or inside your work itself. The reality is, every day we could have a stressor. I mean, there's a lot of times where I've heard people say, I had to stop watching the news. I just needed to shut it off. I needed to give myself a mental break for a while because I all I was hearing was negative stuff. I get that. The news is not known for only publicizing positive stories all the time. If you're lucky, you might get one positive story a day or a week. So sometimes you need to take that separation, whether it's screen time, whether it's going for a trip and not having any Wi-Fi. Maybe it's just creating that space in your own home. Because as a leader, when you get to work, people expect you to be the strong one. They look to you. And if you're not, they're going to go somewhere else, or they just might start getting fearful. And I don't want to say that because I want to make everyone feel like they have all this pressure that as a leader, I have to always be on. No, it goes back to self-care. Knowing when you need to take that break and hand that baton off to another leader saying, hey, I need a break. Can you watch my team for next day or so? Or to your most senior person saying, hey, I just need you to look out for stuff while I take a break for a day or two. I'll be back on Tuesday, whatever it is. But they are going to look at you. So if you don't take those breaks, they're not going to know how to do it themselves. They're not going to know how to handle it when they are in that role. And the last thing you want to do is teach them how to get so stressed out that they need medication, therapy, and God knows what else. So, all right, I'll get off that soapbox there. I do want to share some of the comments that have been in the chat. As I'm doing that, Ashley, did you have anything you wanted to share based on what Sumana shared, or anything else you wanted to add? And by the way, if you want to check out Ashley's artwork, just look behind her. Check out, she did all that artwork. That's all her.
Yeah, I wanted, part of this is also me responding to some of the comments I've seen. I don't think I can add to comments on Restream. I'm not seeing a chat box on my screen, but I did just want to thank everybody who is looking at the artwork behind me and for all of the nice compliments. Yeah, I really appreciate that. And then this is just, like I said, I knew that I was going to learn from you guys tonight. And Sumana, I've seen the FIT methodology on your Instagram many times, and it is so helpful and so timely for the moment that we're in right now. So I appreciate you sharing that tonight.
For those who've asked specifically, Senator Wise, there's Copper. He's he had some friends over this afternoon and is a little tired out. So Copper, you say hi? Can you lift your head up and say hi, Copper? Look, he's there. Okay, he's like, no. He's like, see ya, I'm out of here. But no, I'm glad you brought that up there. And there have been some comments here that I wanted to share because I love how Leslie, she recapped your Ashley's 4 there. That was very nicely done. So for anyone that wants to recapture what Ashley said, and Sandra loves the artwork as always. I did put in the link here. So again, the link is in the comments to the restream. If you want to join us on stage, we'd love to hear your questions or thoughts on this. Because I do have a question for everyone, for both Ashley and Sumana, but also for those of you in the audience. What characteristic, okay, let me put it this way. Think of a leader that you worked for when there was a crisis, whether it was 9/11, there was an economy, crisis, whatever the crisis was, and there was a leader that led you through that crisis and did it well. What was one characteristic that stood out to you about that leader? And I'm curious. So think about that. Put that in the chat. Ashley and Sumana, let me know your thoughts there. Because I will say that one of the things that I was impressed with, and I saw it consistently in 3 different leaders over the years, that when there was a crisis, they didn't just start barking out orders. They got everyone together and they said, okay, here's the situation. Here's some options. What other ideas do you have? And the fact that they wanted our ideas, regardless of how long we've been with the company, how senior we were, that to me was huge, because once they made a decision with our insight, they ran with it. We were able to support it. And it was a lot more unified. And I felt like, okay, he knows what he's doing, or she knew what she's doing, and we're going to get through this okay, because they got a plan, they got our concerns and questions answered, and they asked our opinions. So that was one thing that stood out to me, was just asking for feedback and insight before marching forward. How about you all? Ashley or Sumana?
I want to shout out the best leader I've ever had. His name was Emmanuel, and he was our campaign director when I was working in politics during the 2020 election. And his quality was just truly empathy. He was so kind. He led with such like a soft heart, and he was open. He really had an open door policy. If you needed to talk to him about anything, he made himself available to his team. And all while doing this with 2 twin toddler boys in the house. So this was during the pandemic. Everybody was home. He would be on a call, like holding his boys and listening. And it was just so beautiful to see that type of leadership exists. And I don't know where he is now, but I hope that Emmanuel is slaying out there as he was when he was my leader.
You should find him on LinkedIn and let him know that.
I should. I'm going to look him up tonight, actually.
I did that to my HR leader that inspired me, and I hadn't talked to him in 25 years. And I just posted a picture of me when I was like 21 years old. And so when he saw my message, he responded back. He's like, Felipe, I'll be honest. When I read your message, I didn't remember you. And I went to your page and I saw your picture. I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember you now. And it all came flooding back. So it's funny how sometimes you gotta send that old picture from when you knew that person to remind them. Sumana, what about you?
I've had some incredible leaders in healthcare, and there's a few that come to mind. And I think the strategy that they used during crisis management, and we've talked about this in Workplace Wellness Hour many times, and it's when there is a crisis, which in my space, there is a crisis almost every day. There's an outbreak of something almost every day. So it's those leaders who can identify your team's strengths during a crisis and almost deploy the strengths in the perfect way. So you know how there's some people in the team who thrive during uncertainty. They love it. They're like, yes, I love the strategy. Give me it. I'm in. I can handle it. And then there's some team members who prefer more of that stability, and they're more like they want to do a job during that crisis that they're good at. They're able to execute that better. They're more execution focused, for example. So leaders who can identify and almost create like when you're watching basketball, like they almost create a game plan for you. This is my offense. This is my defense. These are my people's strengths. This is who I'm going to lean on for this. This is who I'm going to lean on for this. So that way, the crisis is managed in a very strategic way. And I think the best leaders really just know how to kind of manage the balance between stability. I'm not going to go to a person who I know, and I've had team members like that, who are more like, give me the data, give me the work that I need to do. I'm going to do that very quietly. Just give me the steps. And then I had team members who are like multitasking, and they're like working on a briefing note, and they're running around doing speaking notes for the minister, and at the same time they're pulling some data for analytics. So it all just depends on balancing the I don't know if that's the right word, the offense and the defense in your team. Who has the right strength, and do I know as a leader who they are? And I've had some incredible leaders who have identified my strengths, and they're like, you know what, we want you to play this, and others would do other roles. So I'll stop there. Thanks.
Well, Roy, thank you for letting me know you're backstage. I didn't see you there for a second. But before we get to Roy, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I think that you're right. The balance is a trick. There are very few, and I know there exists, I've met one or two, that are just really well even keeled and balanced in almost every area. And that's the rarity to find. Most have strengths in areas and weaknesses in others. When you have someone, like you said, that is great at in the moment of thriving in that chaos, they're great, but they rely on people that can be strategic to make sure that they're thinking about all the things before they jump into action, because they are that person you want to have to jump into action. But the more informed and the more prepared they are, the more successful. And I'll tell you right now, I'm one of those people that I've had a lot of my assistant directors in my career have been the opposite of me. They've always told me I thrive in chaos. I grew up in the hotel industry, there's a fire, there's an issue, there's a water pipe bursting, whatever, and, employee issue, whatever it was, we had to jump to action. I liked the plan. I just didn't have the time. But I had people that were more of the thinker processors that would be like, I said, okay, we have a crisis. This is what's going on. This is what I'm thinking. Boom, boom, boom. What am I not thinking about? And they would fill in those gaps. So to your point, Sumana, having that balance, you have to know that you need that balance. If you don't know, then you're going to end up leading poorly. But Roy, it's so great to see you. Roy's coming to us from the future, you all. It is actually not Monday where he's at. It is Tuesday, and he is almost
Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday, quarter to one, close to lunchtime.
So, well, I'm glad that everything's okay in the future. That first of all, but Roy, please tell us your insights on this topic, and please introduce yourself for those who do not know you, and share your insights or questions.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm based in Sydney, Australia, so it is the next day already. So if anyone wants to know what happens between Monday evening and Tuesday morning, I'm your man to speak to.
I want the lottery numbers.
Well, if I knew the lottery numbers that win, I promised you I wouldn't share with anybody. So this topic is just so interesting and relevant. And I'm just going to start off by saying that whilst I'm a salesperson, I've always been a salesperson. I've always had an interest and an involvement in human resources. Strangely enough, you may not know this, Felipe and Sumana and Ashley, but when I lived in South Africa, I used to look after the human resources at the company that I was a shareholder in. So sales and human resources, two extremes. So I kind of understand a little bit about human resources. And yes, one of the things that I really resonate with is leaders and managers, whatever you want to call them, but leaders specifically that can read the characteristics of people and understand that each person is different. And it's such a skill, because if you're in a big organization, sometimes it's not possible. But if you can, if a leader can say, hold on a sec, that person needs help in this area, where they struggle, where the crisis is, or whatever it might be, and this other person needs a different type of thing. But the key element to all of this is to understand that each person has got their own strengths and weaknesses and characteristics, and not to treat people as a whole cattle ranch. Um, each person brings a different set of skills to the table, personality to the table, characteristics. And I'm going to give you an example of something that I didn't even realize I was doing, but I actually did it. I have a full-time team leader in the Philippines. She's been with me for 7 or 8 years. And I always ask myself this: I've got to make her job and her work so comfortable that she doesn't ever want to leave me. And just yesterday, I came to the realization that when I pay her in Australian dollars, and because of the exchange rate, every month she gets a different salary. So I asked her yesterday, I said, do you know that I'm paying you in Australian dollars and you getting different amounts? She said, yes, I was. I said, let's change that today. What's the amount that you want in Filipino pesos? And that's what we're going to do. I'll take the good and the bad. And here's my point, is that is understanding that people are in different specific situations and they're not going to say anything. But if you're perceptive enough to be able to read the situation, you can change people's mindsets. My name is Roy, and I'm out.
Roy, that was so amazingly insightful. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because especially that last example about paying your employee, because I have employees that work in Kenya and they get paid in shillings. That conversion rate, I thank God the company, when I joined them, that's one of the first things he taught us, is that this is the set rate that we pay them at. We don't change it based on the currency rate changing daily, because if we did, they might get shortchanged. And that's a great example of why you're such a wonderful leader, because a lot of people would not have thought of that, or they may have used it as a cost savings measure, maybe. So I'm so glad you brought that up. But going back to knowing your strengths and tapping into other people's strengths and resources, that's something that, think about teamwork. None of us can do it by ourselves. We need help. Whether you are a sports fan and you can relate to, you need a player in every position, because each position is key to winning that game. Or maybe you're a superhero fan, and on your superhero team, you need that person who is smart. You need that person who's strong. You need that person that can fly. You need that person that can, I don't know, stretch, whatever it is. But you think about building your team, you look at their skill sets, their strengths. And when you're going through a crisis and trying to be resilient, tap into those people. Don't look at titles. Look at the individual. Look at the strengths and tap into those, because that's what a good leader does. They look at what the whole needs, not what they need. So Ashley, Sumana, your thoughts on Roy's share?
Roy, I always love when you share, because you are such a great leader, and it's so clear in every single one of your shares that you've come and shared with us on this show. And I couldn't agree more. I've wanted to start with just acknowledging that you have both the HR and the sales background, because those really are two extremes. And I imagine that that's what's helped you so much in running your business and being such a great leader, is that you've gotten to see the whole gamut of skills, of ways to lead those types of teams, of having to think on your feet. And yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I think that it's a disservice when a leader isn't able to tap into their team skills, because that's kind of the point of a team. We're not all the same. We all bring diverse perspectives. We're all different people. We all bring something different to the table. And expecting everybody to do the same thing or to operate the same way, that's not the purpose of a team. You want that difference, and you want that ability to tap into people's different strengths. So I really love that you talked about that. And then I agree. I just wanted to echo what Felipe said and what you said about that last example with the Filipino pesos. That's so amazing that you thought about that. Not a lot of leaders are thinking like that. And so I'm really glad that you brought that up to her. And I'm sure that that's like a coin in your bucket for her never wanting to leave, because that just shows that you're really caring about your employees. Sumana, what did you think?
Oh, I absolutely love listening to Roy, and I've done a very similar strategy because I also have a virtual assistant and graphic designer in Philippines, and we had discussed that. And I know the exchange rate is always different, so we had discussed that right from the beginning to be like, wait a minute, like I'm having to pay my fees because that's what I have to pay, but I don't want her to lose money. So if we're say for $100, if I'm giving her 100 Canadian, she's getting less than what she had actually billed to me. So I would actually end up maybe putting 120 Canadian, so she gets what she's supposed to get, and I kind of take that fee, in my own account. So that's a really good strategy, Roy. And it got me thinking to sort of the title of this conversation, which is helping your team adapt to change. And what you described is so relevant to like the idea of when do we as leaders know how much to push forward with our team, and when do we regroup and take a step back. So you did that, and you're like, you know what, I got to take a step back and figure out, like, wait, what's going on with this payment process? And this could go for any crisis that we might be going through. For me in healthcare, we always had to decide, when do we regroup, because things are changing, the virus is changing, the epidemiology is changing, so that regrouping and repositioning of our ideas happen quite frequently as part of our protocol. But in other industries, I'm not sure how often that happens. And I know in some industries, they push the employees forward so much to the point that they burn out, because there is no regroup, there is no stability, there is no, hey, can we take a step back and see, is this even working? And they just keep doing the work in a direction where like Felipe said, you're losing the game. The players are not positioned to play the game well, but you're not taking and allocating the time to regroup, to identify what's going right and what's going wrong. And Roy, you've done that in your business, and I'm sure, Ashley, you've seen that in your world as well. So I'll just stop there. Loving this conversation. I know we only have a couple more minutes here. Thank you.
I wanted to just add one little thing, because now that I've been hearing what you've been saying, there are two things that I just wanted to finish up
Roy,
with.
I want to give you a chance to give you any final thoughts, but
yeah.
Please.
So the one thing is that I'm always empowering my team leader. So first of all, I don't call her an employee. She's no employee to me. She's a team leader, and I let her know that she plays a critical role. I've empowered her to make mistakes. I've said to make mistakes. Don't worry, I back you. And there've been some bad mistakes, but then I also make mistakes. So here's the thing: if you empower your team to make mistakes, they're not afraid to take responsibility. And that for me is the critical thing. And then the last point is that I give her more than I take from her. So therefore, I'm always ahead of the game with her. So if she's always so if she has a day off here because her mother's sick, I don't say, here's some leave, you got to take the leave. As long as I've given her more than I'm taking from her, I've always got an advantage. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. My name is Roy, and I'm out.
Roy, thank you for sharing that. I think that is such a huge thing, because confidence and trust, that's a gift you give to your employees, y'all. And I know it's something that a lot of people feel like it needs to be earned, and I don't disagree. It needs to be earned. But I tend to be one of those people that I'm going to trust you until you give me a reason not to. There are some people out there that are more skeptical. Maybe they've gotten burned. They're like, nope, people need to earn my trust before I trust them. I respect that. But regardless, don't shut people out from trusting them completely. Give them that chance. And when you do, and you give them that trust, that confidence boost that it gives them, like Roy said, to make decisions, they're going to make better decisions. They're not going to second guess everything. We all know that when we second guess things and get into that spiral in our head about, well, should I, shouldn't I? Well, what if this happens? What if that happens? And you start questioning everything. That's a lack of confidence. That's a lack of uncertainty. When you remove that by giving someone trust and confidence in them, it's amazing what it does to their morale, to their commitment, and just their overall, confidence themselves or itself. So Roy, thank you for sharing that. Sumana or Ashley, anything else you wanted to add before we start wrapping up?
I don't think so. I think I'm good, Sumana.
Did we freeze?
No, I think I'm good too. I think I would love. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you, Sumana.
Okay.
Felipe, you might. I think Felipe's just a little delayed.
Yeah, I think you've been a little delayed. No, I don't have much to say. I think I would love to talk about.
Yeah, it's breaking up a little bit, but yeah.
I would love, maybe in another episode at another time, I would love to talk about trust when you've been burned. What does that look like? How do we develop that as leaders?
I'm gonna refresh. I'll be right back.
I'm not sure if that's something we can talk about in Workplace Wellness Hour, but that might be a good one to just tap into. Even as leaders, we need to learn that strategy. And of course, we don't want to become too hard. I don't know, Ashley. That's just something that I've been thinking about.
Topic. I'm like, oof. Thing after you. It's so difficult, but I think that we should talk about it because it's something that we all go through. So maybe that's could that be our next topic?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. And while Felipe is figuring out his camera stuff, I do want to remind everybody that we are posting a Workplace Wellness Hour blog once a month. So if there's 2 shows a month or 3 shows a month, we compile all of that information, key messages. My intern Hannah Neese, she rewatches the replays and pulls out all the key messages from the shows. So we just posted our January recap episodes. If you're someone who doesn't like watching the replays are great to watch. But if you don't like watching the replays and if you just want to read and catch up on the key points from episode 1 and episode 2 of January, that has been posted and it's on the blog now. I think I posted the link in the comment section. And so yeah, every month we'll do the same thing. Either there'll be a recap of 3 episodes if there's 3 Mondays in a month, or there'll be a recap of 2 episodes. So this just helps us kind of keep our content available for you to read and catch up. And we also link other resources to it as well. So Felipe's 5 is always there. We had Megan last month. It feels like a whole year went by, but Megan last month. So we've kind of tagged her in the blog as well. So please feel free to go read that. It's a resource that we're giving all of you for just for your well-being and as another add-on to Workplace Wellness Hour every month. Thanks.
All right, can you all hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. All right.
Yep.
Well, and Ashley, did you have any final thoughts or did you already go?
No, not yet. Yeah, I wanted to say a couple of announcements. One is I'm very slowly, y'all are the first to hear, rolling out a new way of doing my business, I guess. I don't have the words yet, but it's a community space called Dear Imperfect Artist. And I want to engage as many imperfect artists as I can because I think that being imperfect is something we can all relate to. Nobody's perfect, especially in our creative practices. I created a LinkedIn page for it, and I have an Instagram account. So if you're interested in getting some imperfect artist advice or inspiration, please feel free to follow either or both of those pages. And then in addition to that, part of building this community space and also part of my 2025 goals is to show up more consistently and make the work that I do and my message just a little bit more accessible and easy to understand. And with that being said, and with me building more of a community, every Sunday from 4 to 5 Central Time, a friend and I are hosting a completely free virtual makerspace. It's literally a space for creative. You bring your own projects and we all work individually together. And if you don't have a creative project to work on, I provide a sketchbook exercise every week. And then my friend Casey, who is a therapist, she DJs the music. She curates a playlist based on that sketchbook exercise. So this is every Sunday. We're going to have it February 9th from 4 to 5. And I will be posting that link on my LinkedIn very soon. And I'll also put it on this post. And those are my 2 announcements.
Well, damn.
Thank you.
I mean, first of all, what a brilliant, creative branding and marketing strategy of titling it The Imperfect Artist. You had me right there. I'm like, oh, I love to sketch and do artwork, but I'm not perfect. I'm not great, but I like doing it. This resonates with me so freaking much.
Thank you so much. That means the world. I really appreciate that.
You were going to, I mean, to the point where so I'm going to tell you why and give you all a teaser about something that we're going to talk about in 2 weeks. But before that 4 to 5 hour creative space, I love that too. If somebody has a project they want to work on and they might be able to get some people's opinions about something, I think that's wonderful to have that community there. So kudos to you. I will have QR codes for you next time about those events, but if you have them ready. But February 9th, that sounds exciting. Part of the reason why I get so excited about those things is this. I do a lot of professional work. I'm in HR. I've been in banking, hospitality. The professional corporate side, I do really well. One of the things that I realized in life that I like is I have a creative side. That creative side allows me to relax. I tap into that creative side so that I can handle the stress of the strategic and planning and thinking side. So, Sumana, I haven't told you this yet, but one of the things that brought Sumana and I together to start this room 3 years ago was because I started going all in about workplace wellness because I had an eye issue. I don't know if you remember, but my retina started to detach, and it was all due to stress in the workplace. I changed jobs. The doctor said that was all right there. I mean, obviously I was going to recommend a lot of other things, but clearly the main source of your stress at that moment was that job. It started to heal itself. I had to go back for checkups regularly. That was 10 years ago. I've shared that I've had a lot of stuff in the family happen this past year that I think everything built up. My eye got bad again. The doctor said it was worse than it's ever been, where it started to detach again. I'm sharing some of this with you, and I'll share more about it in 2 weeks because in the short time, I went to see him last Monday, and I had a blurry spot in my eye right here, where I closed my eye, that was dark and blurry, and I couldn't see very well. I wasn't getting warning signs that my eyesight was going. And I knew that from before. They said, you didn't get any warning signs, so if you notice anything, call us immediately. So when I did, he was like, all right, let's see if you can practice what you did before, because that really did help. And if your job right now is not as stressful as the other one, I said, no, it's not. I mean, there's stressful things, of course, but not at all like what the other one was. It's more about all the life things that accumulated at one time. And so since that appointment, the blurriness has already gotten better. And it's because I've been practicing all these things, taking those breaks, doing that self-care that I used to joke about, self-care, whatever, that's crap. No, you know what? I want my eyesight. I don't want to lose my eyesight. So self-care has become a priority. Whether that means going for a walk with my dog, maybe I take a nap, maybe I take a vacation, whatever that looks like, or maybe I sketch, draw, do something creative that allows me to relax. So I'm sharing that with you all because make it a priority. God forbid you don't get warning signs about something and it just hits you like a brick and it's too late. Don't let it be too late. So I just wanted to share that because this was really the catalyst of what got me involved in the Workplace Wellness Hour. And Sumana was what was happening with my eye and how much it impacted me at work. So I just wanted to share that. And we'll talk more about that in 2 weeks. But with that being said, I want to remind everyone real quick that follow me on YouTube. And do me a favor, I don't usually ask this, but subscribe. I don't have a lot of followers on YouTube. I'm trying to build it up now that I actually have videos going on YouTube. So I would love to have a following on YouTube because I don't have another platform I really do work on outside of LinkedIn. And, I don't want to have all my eggs in one basket. So anyone that would follow me, I would greatly appreciate that. But also, do me a favor, follow Ashley on Instagram. Okay, you see the artwork behind you. That's just a small taste of what she's done. And if you hear about her creative classes and all that, I'm sure she's going to post information about it. So please scan that QR code for Ashley and follow her on Instagram. And then, of course, if you haven't already, which I assume most of you have, check out Jeddy Wellness. You are not going to regret all the amazing, valuable information that Sumana and her team have put into this company. And it's stuff that has made a significant impact in many lives that I've witnessed, but also in my life. So definitely check her out. And I will get a little bit cheesy here. I hate asking this, but not asking this, but sharing this. But people say, "Oh, how can we thank you? How can we thank you?" And if you want to thank us, buy us a cup of coffee. Just buy us a cup of coffee. That's honestly the best way. We're not looking to make a profit off these rooms. We're looking to give back information. So you know what? We won't turn down a cup of coffee if you want to buy us a cup of coffee. But outside of that, I do hope that you all found some value in today's room. Again, let us know if you're team live or team replay. Also, let us know in the comments what you found valuable and what topics you want us to cover in the future. But with that being said, Ashley and Sumana, I hope that you all have a good rest of your week. I feel like this Monday for some reason has already been a long week for some reason. And last Monday and last week was a long week. So let's hope that this week gets a little bit easier for everyone.
I will try to stay warm and get through the next 4 days here in Calgary. Thank you so much, Felipe. Take care of your eye, please, and your health and your well-being. And this is so important. And, we talk about it every month, every week, every other day on our platforms. And I say this to you and everybody else who's listening. No health, no wealth. Over to you, Ashley. Have a good night, everybody.
No health, no wealth. I love that. I think that we should just end it there. No health, no wealth. Agreed.
Yep. And thank you, Sumana, for all that you've done to help our health and wealth. Adios, everyone. Have a great week.
Bye, everyone.